What is up, my friends? Chrissy Crash here. Welcome to Derby Strength Secrets. Super excited for today. If you are a roller derby skater that wants to get stronger, wants to feel powerful on the track, but you feel like you are just getting left in the dust, you are in the right spot. I think the thing that's really important to understand about derby is that derby strength is not about being like the strongest person in the gym, right? It's about being the kind of skater that can be really powerful and stable and confident, even in the last 30 seconds of the last jam in the last half of the game. And so I think a lot of skaters have this misconception that they're not getting more track time because they're just not talented. And that's just not the case. And so my mission today is I want to teach you how to become a strong and powerful skater on the track in a way that you can now take and translate into your roller derby game day to day. So skaters who get more track time, they're not just like the really talented ones, right? They're the ones who really train like athletes off of the track. And if you don't feel like you're an athlete yet, that's okay. It might be because you're not one. But I really believe that athletes are built, not born. And so my mission today is to teach you how to build true strength, not just on the track, but like mental strength, all of that stuff as well. And it's just because no one's shown you how to train like one. No one's taught you this stuff before. And I think a lot of skaters come into roller derby and they've never played roller derby, or they've never played like sports as an adult before. It's like easy to play sports when you're a kid, right? Because like your parents pack your lunch, you go, somebody picks you up, they put you on a bus, you go do the thing and you come home. It's very easy. But when we're trying to play sports as an adult, it's like a whole different thing. And so whether you played sports as a kid or not, there's going to be this level of learning how to become an adult athlete. And I think that most skaters that I talk to about this stuff, that come into Crash Course or that I talk to out in the world, they're dealing with these same things. Number one, they're gassing out midway through a jam. They feel slow, like they want to change direction and the game is changing direction quickly and they always feel like 2 steps behind. I think a lot of skaters don't feel like they have a really clear off skates training plan. And so they end up like wandering around the gym and like doing some random machines, not really knowing what actually is going to help. Or they end up pulling out like a couple of like my workouts from Instagram or some things they find on Pinterest, but they're just randomly doing them without intention. And so then they're not seeing step-by-step progress. And so what happens is I think a lot of skaters end up getting in their head and really second guessing everything. And so then as a result of that, you end up feeling like you're behind everyone else, or you're slowing your team down, or you're the weakest one on the track. And I'm willing to bet that if you're watching this, you actually really want more track time and you want to be a trusted skater in your team, but you aren't quite sure how to earn it. And I think the frustrating part is like, you obviously care, right? If you're watching this and if you're showing up to practice, like you're trying, but it gets really frustrating when you're trying and it's not translating. So I'm going to walk you through the 6 principles of derby strength and then the 4 moves that you're missing that are leaving you feeling weak on the track. Okay. Now, if you do want more like one-on-one help with this, I have dropped a link down in the notes for details on how you can get like an actual custom plan and then one-on-one support to build actual derby strength quickly. Okay, without the second guessing, without wasting all of your time. So if you want to learn more about that, there's a link down below. If we haven't met yet, hi, I'm Chrissy Crash. When I started playing roller derby in 2006, I was immediately obsessed. I was one of those kids that played soccer in high school, and in college I ended up like partying instead. So coming out of college, I was very out of shape. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was not working out. I was not playing sports. And then I found roller derby and I was like, my God, what is this? I need to do this. Maybe you can relate. But I had no real structure, right? And so I would try like random workouts. I would follow whatever weird things I could glean online, which by the way was not a lot because roller derby was just in its resurgence. So I was just looking at random like fitness, like weight loss exercise advice, because that was really the only thing that people were talking about in 2006. And it just wasn't stuff that really would carry over into the track. And so it wasn't until I really shifted my training and I started training like an actual athlete that I started to understand, like, oh, there's a different way of training than just hitting the elliptical or like doing some random squats. And so I started focusing on things like explosive power. I started focusing on things like agility or things like nutrient timing specifically for the length of a game, right? And these systems, these are what really changed everything. And it's from that I was able to go on and earn MVPs, win championships with the LA Derby Dolls, go on to compete in WFTDA with Angel City, right? These things all came from developing myself into an athlete. So if you're someone who feels like you're not an athlete or you just want to be a higher level athlete and you can't figure out how to do it, I promise you, you're in the right spot. So let's dive into it. If you're taking notes, great. If you're not taking notes, pause this or go and run and get something to take notes with. So I'm going to walk you through the 6 principles of derby strength first. Okay, so if you actually want to be the kind of skater that can show up jam after jam and continue to be powerful, you have to consider these principles. Okay, so the first one is strength has to be stable, right? If you're going to hit with a big, crazy hit, but you can't control what happens to your body afterwards, then your strength is useless. If you're flying off the track, when I first started playing roller derby, this is me, I would do these big hits and I would fly right with them off the track. So now they can re-enter without having to go around me. It takes me just as long as them to get up off the ground, so I'm not helping my team anymore. And so a big piece, if you want to focus on strength that is stable, is you have to start focusing on core stability, about hip strength, try to say that twice, hip strength, and single leg stability. Now I'll get in at the end to some of the exercises that you can add in for this stuff. But the key when you're thinking about stability with strength is you want to be really focusing on not getting knocked off balance when executing your strength. Okay? Principle number 2, strength has to be multi-directional. Most exercises that people do at the gym are typically forward to back. You're doing a forward lunge, you're doing a forward step up, right? We're doing a squat that goes and we're pushing up. We're doing a deadlift and we're pulling up. Roller derby is not only played in a forward direction. Roller derby is played in a multi-directional way. And so you have to start training in a way where you're teaching your body to have strength going in these different directions. So thinking about building lateral power or diagonal power, both forward and backward, is really important, as well as edge control, right? Because again, if you're going to go laterally, but you can't stop yourself, then that strength means nothing, okay? So thinking about how are you, number one, moving in these multi-directional planes? And then also, how are you changing direction? Can you go this way and quickly make strength go that way, and quickly make strength go forward, and quickly make strength go to the side, right? Because those slow direction changes are probably the reason why you're missing a lot of holes, because you're just training strength unilaterally, just going forward, okay? Strength principle number 3, strength has to be repeatable. So you, in a single game or in a single bout, you don't just need one burst of power, right? You need it every single pass. You need it every single jam. And so it's important that you're training endurance under fatigue. And I say this to my skaters all the time. You are not training for your best jam ever. You are training for your worst nightmare jam. You're training for that 2-minute jam where your jammer's in the box, you have 2 on the track against 4, and you have to figure it out, right? And so as you're training and you're doing your training, you want to think about, if you're going to do, let's say, a 30-minute workout 3 days a week, you want to consider that 30-minute container to be a half of roller derby. So if you're just dicking around and you go to the gym for 30 minutes or an hour, or you do some like just body weight workouts at home for 30 minutes to an hour, but you're not gasping for breath, you're not working that last 5 minutes of the workout the same way you worked the first 5 minutes of your workout, then the same thing is going to happen in a game. your strength will not be repeatable at the end because you're not practicing repetitions of strength all the way to the end of one period of roller derby. And the result of this is you're just going to start gassing out as you get to the end of the half or you get to the end of the game. Okay? So as you're building your workouts, thinking about how strength has to be something that's repeatable. This is something we customize workouts for skaters inside a Crash Course. And so we really consider this when we're building their workouts is building skaters up, starting at the level that they're at right now, because you might be like, Crash, I would die if I was doing 30 minutes straight. Okay, so what we do with our skaters is we build them up slowly and then we periodize or we step up that workout. So every 4 weeks, it's getting a little bit harder, a little bit more complex, right? So principle number 4, strength must match jam timing. So not only is your strength needing to match the period of your game, like a half or a whole game, but it has to also take into consideration those really extreme bursts during a game. And again, always thinking about training for the bad jams, not the easy ones. I'll just always assume that your jam is going to be 2 minutes. Right? And if you train as if your jams are always 2 minutes, your 1 minute jams are very easy. So this is the exact interval training that's going to translate to those short bursts of energy. So for example, inside of a 2 minute window, you want to think about 20 to 30 seconds of really high intensity exercise with 10 to 20 seconds off, right? So think 30, 10, 30, 10, 30, 10. As a really great interval to have you focusing on how do I work really hard and then how do I rest and then how do I work really hard and how do I rest, right? Because it takes a jammer about 7 seconds to get from escaping the track to back in the pack again, right? So you need to build your workouts in a way that you're having these same intervals as you're going to feel inside of a jam. Principle number 5, strength has to be intentional. Okay. Now, whenever I talk to skaters, I think one of the number one challenges that I hear is they're just doing random workouts. And this is challenging for 2 reasons. Number 1, if you're not repeating similar moves over and over for a period of time, your body is not going to get stronger at that movement. You can't just do one workout and think you're going to be strong. So why would you think that if you don't repeat those same movements that you're still going to continue to get strong? So workouts have to be repeatable for a period of time, okay? Similarly, there needs to be some form of measurement. If you're not paying attention to whether you're adding more weight to a certain move, whether you can do more reps in that 20 seconds than you could last week, you're probably getting sweaty at your workouts, but you're not actually progressing. Right? So wandering around the gym and getting sweaty is not the same thing as actually creating structured progression. So when you're thinking about building strength, if you're using weights, it's important that you're having that progressive overload where this week maybe you use 20s for your squats. Then, okay, so next week, why don't we warm up with a set of 20s? Then for round 2, let's try to do 25. Great, if you get to the end of your reps in round 3, try to go up to 30. Maybe you can't finish all your reps. So for round 4, drop back down to your 25. So you'll go 20, 25, 30, 25. And what you'll find is eventually in your next coming up workouts, in a week or 2, you may be able to go 25, 30, 30, 30. But if you're not tracking that, how are you ever going to know if you're getting any kind of strength results, which is then going to lead you to keep doing more random workouts because you feel like you're not getting results. Whereas if you would just be consistent and track it, you might be amazed at how much results you're actually getting. Like in Crash Course, we have our skaters do benchmarks. And so we are checking month to month, are they improving on those benchmarks each month? So we know whether they're getting stronger, because otherwise you're just going to feel like you're spinning around in a circle and you're going to get frustrated when potentially you could be making progress. You just don't realize it. Principle number 6, the final principle, is that strength builds confidence. A lot of times when skaters tell me they want to be strong on the track, what they're actually saying is, I want to feel confident and like I can trust my body on the track, right? And so this is something that's built through consistency, because confidence isn't a mindset first, right? It's something that's built through your physical actions. And so if you're having self-doubt on the track, if you're feeling weak, if you're overthinking, these things are coming because you haven't built that consistency of saying, yes, I'm getting stronger. Yes, I can see myself progressing. Because when you can see that progress and you can see the strength building, the confidence on the track is going to come. And so it's important to understand that strength is not something that's just physical. It's mental as much as it's physical, right? Because a lot of times I also see skaters that sometimes are maybe strong skaters, but they don't believe in themselves. And so then the confidence isn't there. And so it's something that has to be there both physically and mentally. All right, so let's talk about 4 moves that you are probably missing in your training that will make a world of difference in terms of building your strength. Okay, so first things first is lateral bounds or skater jumps. Okay, let me walk you through each of these. You can find them on the internet, I'm sure, but we'll do them together here in my living room. So when you're doing a lateral bound, what you want to think about is number 1, first getting really deep into that post leg, right? Really deep into that leg. Put this down. Okay, so getting really deep into that leg so that when I take off, I'm using this leg to push myself out of it, land, other side, out, land, other side. Now, a couple things are happening here. 1, it's the explosiveness. 2nd, it's the stability, and then the balance and the reset. So if you need to, start shorter, and then over time, make them longer, okay? Something you could track if you did 20 seconds, how many can you do in 20 seconds, or how long can they be? The next piece is single leg strength work. So it's really important that if you're going to be strong, that you're also stable. Just similarly how lateral bounds are really good for that side to side strength, I really believe single leg deadlifts are one of the most missing pieces from people's workouts. So a lot of times the skaters say they fall a lot. I always ask them, do you fall forward or do you fall back? If you're falling backwards, it means that you're probably lacking the core strength to pull yourself down. If you often fall forwards, it means that you're lacking the strength in your glutes and your hamstrings to keep yourself from tilting over. So to strengthen that, getting onto a single foot, and then you can do this with or without weights. If I had weights, I would hold them here. And then I'm just hinging forward, right? You can see the stability happening. And then I'm pulling myself up. Now, as I'm pulling myself up, I'm thinking about arching my foot, pressing all 5 toes into the ground, activating my hamstring and my glute to bring myself up. So my hamstring is what's pulling me up. So that way when you get hit forward, you're actually going to be strong here to pull yourself back up. The last piece is rotational, second to last, is rotational core work. Like I said, it's important that your core is strong, otherwise your stability kind of means nothing. So one of my favorite things for this is a Russian twist. See if you can see me if I sit on the floor. No, you cannot. So I think Russian twists are great for rotational core work. Again, you can start by doing these with no weight and then start to add weight in. You can also start by keeping your feet on the floor if you need to, but ideally you want to get to the point where both feet are off the floor and we're going side to side. Because think about it, when you are blocking someone, right, you're bringing your shoulder up. If you don't have stability here, what's going to happen? You're going to fall. So doing something like this, especially with weight, is going to help you build that rotational strength, okay? And then the last one is, again, for that multi-directional power, we want to think about multi-directional lunges. I think these are the easiest cheat code to get all the directions in at once. It's simply get on one leg, you go forward, diagonal up, diagonal side, diagonal back, all the way back, right? And you can repeat this. Forward, diagonal, side, diagonal back, all the way back, right? Because now you're building that strength in many directions at once. All right, whew, now I'm out of breath. But here's what I pointed out this to you before, but strength comes from more than just workouts, right? Proving to yourself that you can show up for yourself, that's the internal strength you're going to need to build. How many times have you tried starting something to train for roller derby and then you quit and then you just convinced yourself that you're just not a kind of person who has discipline? Honestly, this is bullshit. Okay, discipline is something that's built day to day. It's a muscle that you build, and it's built from showing up for yourself and then failing, but then showing up for yourself again. Inside of Crash Course, we talk about like the rule of 2. Like, you can miss your workout, just don't miss 2 in a row, right? You can have a crappy day of eating and like whatever, just don't have 2 in a row. And if you start to do that, what's happening is you're building the muscle and the discipline of just getting back on. Right? Because I think for a lot of us, we miss one day of something and then we're like, oh, fuck it, we screwed it up. I guess I'm broken. Right? And so the more that we can build that get back up muscle, the stronger and more confident we're going to be, because true strength comes from learning to show up even when you don't feel motivated. And I really think that's the secret sauce to building physical strength, is having that consistency to build the mental strength, right? Like the mental strength is going to come from showing up for yourself over and over. And by showing up for yourself over and over, guess what happens? You get physically strong, right? My client Melissa is a really good example of this. I will read a quote from her just because it made my heart so happy. So she said, "The first time since my injury, I fully trusted my body on the track. One of my biggest derby outcomes since starting Crash Course was winning gold with my team at a Division II tournament. But the real win wasn't the medal. It was what happened within me during the game. I wasn't second guessing or holding back or hesitating. I moved with power and purpose, and more importantly, with confidence. The biggest shift, though, was internal. I could feel the work I'd done through Crash Course, the early mornings, the mindset rewiring, the physical strength, all show up in how I skated and how I carried myself. I didn't just perform better. I felt like I belonged out there. That tournament helped me realize this isn't a comeback. This is a new era." And so if you're someone who's ready to have not just a comeback, but a new era, this is why physical strength alone isn't going to be enough, right? And so inside Crash Course, one of the things we focus on is we focus on 5 very specific systems. So I want you to ask yourself, just do you have all of these in place? Number 1 is your off skates training system, right? The things that you're doing off skates that make you better at practice. Number 2 is some kind of an athlete fuel system. Because if you want to be strong, you got to get enough protein, but also strength comes when you have energy. If you don't have energy, you're not going to be strong. The third piece is habits and routine systems. This is what ties the whole thing together, right? Because when you have systems for habits and routines, you plug your fuel into that. You plug your off skates training into that. You plug your practices into that, right? And it makes things so much more brainless. I actually had one of my clients, Kat, today, that she said having Crash Course was like hiring a housekeeper. She's like, because when someone cleans my house, it takes this sort of executive functioning thing off my plate. And so she said, Crash Course took all of these executive functioning things off my plates because my workouts were done. I knew what to eat. It helped me set up my habits and routines, right? So having that habits and routines piece is so key. Also, having an accountability system. Who are you checking in with? Who knows if you're bailing on yourself other than you? Because if you want to build real strength, there are probably going to be times where you're going to need a little outside elbow to get you there. And then what's your derby skill and strategy system? So for us, I know inside of Crash Course, we do skill and footage reviews. And I know a lot of the reason we started doing this was a lot of teams are just busy. Like, yes, they want you to come to practices, but they don't necessarily have time to give each person one-on-one feedback on how they did in a game or how their body positioning is during certain drills at practices. And so that's why we do that. We actually created an entire system around giving strategy and skill footage feedback to our clients. And so the thing to understand and remember about all of this is like practice is for derby, right? But the off skates, the habits and routines, these are the things where you are actually going to build yourself into the kind of athlete that can be strong for more than just half a season, right? So if you want to be that kind of skater that's going to show up season after season, grow into that really trusted veteran skater, then these are those systems that you have to start putting in place. All right, so at this point, let's talk about action steps from here. So you have a couple of options of how to do things from here. Number one, look at those six, my brain just stopped working. 6 keys of strength. Figure out which ones you're missing, right? Start incorporating in some of those 4 exercises that I gave you. Look at the 5 systems that I gave you. Which ones are you missing, and start implementing them. That's number one. Number 2 is you can start hiring professionals, right? Like when I first started playing roller derby, I hired a personal trainer that was also a strength and conditioning coach. It was very expensive, and I had to teach him what roller derby was, right? But the challenge is, if you want these professionals, you're probably going to want to hire a personal trainer. You should probably hire a nutrition coach, a skate coach, a mindset coach, right? And hiring all of those people together, you're probably going to spend, I don't know, like $1,500 a month. And I think for a lot of skaters, that's not feasible, right? So third option is you can use the Crash Course system, which combines all of those things and is already specifically designed for skaters and isn't even half of that, right? So the key is that if you're someone who wants to save time, right? We've built the program for busy skaters, so you don't have to live in a gym and you're not guessing. You can save money because everything's all under one roof, so you're not having to hire all those people individually and spend $1,500 a month. That's crazy. And then also you can have the confidence of knowing that what you're doing is working. I think for me, that was something I struggled with in hiring professionals that didn't know derby, is I still was like, okay, they're a professional, but they don't understand my sport. So having the confidence of knowing that all of our certified personal trainers are also roller derby skaters and understand the game. So right now we actually are looking for 5 skaters who are ready to build that kind of derby strength, improve endurance, and then really become the kind of strong, powerful skater on the track that their team really wants to have in their pack. So if you are someone who's tired of feeling stuck, you want a clear plan, I will drop the link down below. You fill out the application. You can book a free strategy call with it, which is the next step. And it's no pressure. Like on the call, we'll talk about your goals. We'll figure out where you're getting stuck. And if it makes sense for us to move forward with Crash Course, we will. But it may be that there's something else that you need, and in which case we'll suggest to you other options. So if you're unsure, just apply and book a strategy call, and we can help you figure out which direction you need to go. Because I think derby is not really about who works the hardest. It's about who is training the smartest and not burning out. And when you do that, everything changes. So thank you so much for joining me today. I do not take it lightly that you invest your time and energy into the content that we produce. If you know a skater that really is struggling with strength that needs to put some of these systems in place, please send them this video so that they can learn this stuff and start adding it in for themselves. And just remember, life is a contact sport, and we're just here to train you how to win. So thank you so much for joining me, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.